Welcome back, draft dorks and football fans. It's Football Grump. I know it's been a while. That's all my fault. Who cares? We're back now with another episode for the 2024 draft. This is previewing the edge rusher / outside linebacker position. Just a brief recap. I got sick. Got exhausted, went on vacation. I'm back, but I didn't stop doing research and all that time. I wasn't able to do a video. I didn't have the time. I have actually recorded and scrapped like 3 versions of this video already. So I haven't stopped doing anything. So we got the edge rusher video today. There's going to be a tight end video coming up shortly after that work is all done. Just got to do the recording of the video, and we'll continue on with our 2024 draft coverage. So not to miss a beat, if you are a Giants fan, I have a Giants podcast called Just Giants on YouTube as well. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at @football_grump. But let's get right into this because I'm really excited to talk edge rushers. And the first thing I think I'm going to say is that I am kind of super poopy down on this year's edge rusher class. In my opinion, I only have 3 day one edge rushers in this class. I don't have a grade for more than that. I think one's going to be, I think, maybe slightly controversial, but and I do think he is going to get picked in the first round, but that's neither here nor there. To me, this is a pretty clear-cut thing where the number 1 edge rusher in this class is Dallas Turner from Alabama. 6'3", 245 pounds with really long 34-inch arms. He's got excellent athleticism displayed both in his broad jump and his vertical jump as well as his 40. He had a pretty darn good combine. I think one of the things that's really excited about Dallas Turner, other than playing at Alabama where he played among some of the best competition in the SEC and against some of the best competition in the SEC, is that he's got really excellent speed to power. He's got a really good bull rush. The one thing I think that separates him the most from the other edge rushers in this class is that he looks the most comfortable to me in coverage. Lots of coverage in the Tennessee game, for example. Other guys in this class, almost all of the other guys in this class, look strictly comfortable. Actually, I would say a large majority of the guys in this class look strictly comfortable rushing the passer. The rest kind of encompass more of the, they can play the run pretty well as well. But nobody else really looks quite nearly as comfortable as Dallas Turner when it comes to being in coverage. And the NFL is kind of a trendy league. Defenses are adjusting to offensive schemes and rule changes that are making offense more powerhouse. And I would not be shocked to see a lot more NFL defenses disguising coverages, dropping guys who typically rush the passer into coverage and bringing additional pressure from places like the linebacker position or a corner blitz or a safety blitz or something like that to offset that edge rusher dropping into coverage. It's just versatility. It's an additional thing that he can do. The NFL, football in general, is all about what can you do, not what can't you do. But when it comes to Dallas Turner, he can do a lot and there's very little he can't do. I think that he plays with excellent speed to power. I think he's got very good leverage. I think his speed and burst is pretty close to deadly. He's got a 4.46 640 time with a 1.54 10-yard split. That is really good. And it shows up a lot of times when he closes in on a quarterback. A couple of things that I think that he can improve on. The most notable for me is that his bend around the corner is just okay. And that is going to come into that's going to be the major thing I think that separates his dominance at the college level to closer to mediocrity at the NFL level. Mediocrity being starter level material, by the way. His ability to bend around the edge is just okay. His hips look a little bit tight for that. But nobody in this class has really good bend, in my opinion. The other thing is I think his hand fighting is just kind of okay. He's won so cleanly with just speed at the college level that I don't think he really needed to develop his hand fighting, and that is just not going to happen at the NFL level. And I think the easiest thing that he can improve on, for my money, he tackles a little bit high. Tackling up around the shoulders and stuff like that. He's got the strength at the college level to get away with that, but even then he got kind of burned at the college level from time to time. The NFL, I need those hits to be cleaner. Especially with the hip drop tackle being taken out. hits need to be form tackles. It's kind of interesting. We'll see how much form tackling improves in the NFL as a response to that rule. But those are the things that I think that Dallas Turner can improve upon. To me, this is a top 15 pick. Dallas Turner is excellent. He's not an elite edge rusher like we've seen in the past. He's not J.J. Watt, but he's going to be a darn good starter in the NFL, I think, and his ability to play in coverage only intensifies that. Following up with that, my number 2 edge rusher, also a day 1 pick, Chop Robinson from Penn State. 6'3", 255 pounds with strong athleticism. And in my opinion, he took a big leap from 2022 to 2023 at Penn State. I think that Chop Robinson is a fast and quick edge rusher. I think he's got pretty decent bend off of the edge. It's not great, but it's not bad. I think that was an area in which he improved from 22 to 23. He's got really active hands. More than anything, he plays... the adjective I would use to describe his play style is ferocious. So, there's a lot of things that I think he can get better at, but he's gotten by on some want to. He's got raw ability plus the extra want to that is all the difference. So his hands are super active and they're strong, they're powerful, but they could get a lot better if they get more refined, works on some pass rush moves. And by that, I mean setting up his pass rush moves, having a plan for plan B. I think also combining hand fighting, his current hand fighting and pass rush move to his speed and bend will help a lot. That one little critique in getting the hand fighting right, you just add that into his natural speed, what he's already got with a bend, with his natural power, and I think that really, really skyrockets what he's going to do at the next level. I think that using his burst off the snap for power rushes has helped him a lot. In both speed and power rushes, I think he needs to learn how to shed blockers a little bit better. When he's able to barrel through guys, it's obviously smooth sailing, but when he's got hands kind of on him, he's got to learn how to, instead of just running past that and running through that, getting hands off of him. And I think that, like Dallas Turner, there's a little bit of tackling that can be improved here. It's not tackling high. I think for Chop Robinson, his enthusiasm leads to going for big hits rather than form tackles. And that lack of a wrap-up has burned him at Penn State. It's certainly going to earn the ire of head coaches at the NFL level. So, that's an easy thing to clean up, though. You just kind of drill that into his head. 2 hands, always. Don't care if you're knocking the shit out of him. I need him on the ground. Chop Robinson, for me, I think he goes in the top 20. I think that he's probably going to go even higher than that. He is a day 1 grade for me because I think that while he's not elite, if you can work on what he's already got, plus that desire, the effort level is definitely there, the raw strength is there, I think that you can mold him into being a quality starter at the next level. Following that, people might expect me to say Laiatu Latu from UCLA. I'm actually going to go Jared Verse from Florida State. 6'4", 255 pounds with a strong build combined with speed and power. I really like his build. He's got the length. He's got some height here. But he's really got the weight to him. Too many of these guys are a little bit lighter for my taste. I also think that Jared Verse offers some inside and outside versatility, and I think that comes with his build. He's got damn good speed and burst off the line, too. I think that the bend needs improvement. I think the hands are active, but they need to be more than just active. There's a couple of things there. And I think that Jared Verse is going to be more projection and ceiling than he is walking into an NFL room on day 1. It was commented on at the Combine how he was handling the 3-cone drill a little incorrectly. These are things. I think that Jared Verse is somebody that is, I don't want to say a project, but like the ceiling is definitely there. This is a high effort and motor player with raw ability. He was not highly recruited, and he played his way from Albany to Florida State to now being in discussion with a day 1 draft grade from me. So that right there, the same thing with like Chop Robinson, where when you have raw stuff is cool, but that motor, that effort level, that wanting to get better, that pushing yourself to the next level, not being pushed, but pushing yourself to that next level, that really, in my opinion, oftentimes is what separates, the elite guys from just the very good guys at the NFL level. And, from a raw ability place. For Jared Verse, he's already a day one guy to me. That ceiling is what just launches him forward. Additionally, I think he's already a good run defender. I think he's a stronger tackler than the other two. But he's much less precise. He's much less refined. I think that he struggles to keep hands off of him. But I think that he can be a consistent starter. And that's really just the beginning for Jared Verse. I really like Jared Verse. And I think that there is probably a chance that he slips out of the first round due to general manager negligence, overlooking important traits, in my opinion, and or just overvaluing other players' traits. Of course, always runs on positions happen in the draft as well. But if he can slip through to day 2 of the draft, he's somebody that should be snapped up between picks 33 and 36, I guess. The first 3 picks, he should be gone. Moving into day 2, going to go right into what I think a lot of people have graded as a day 1 guy in Laiatu Latu from UCLA. Everything kind of jumps off the page as prototypical. 6'5", 260 pounds, all kind of, what you're looking for. Super productive at college, another thing that you're looking for. And I am usually the guy that's going to look at film and take that over the combine. But I do think that the combine oftentimes, it's not a playbook for me in that when I see things, I'm not going to submarine what I've seen on film just because of testing, you know what I mean? Because, guys train for that. And then, a completely average score kind of looks terrible up against somebody who has trained really hard to score well at the combine, but maybe can't do anything in a game. That being said, I do think that combine testing can reveal things that are hidden in film. And I think that might be the case here with Laiatu Latu. He scored very meh at the combine, despite being super productive in college. And you kind of remember that being productive at UCLA is just being productive in the Pac-12, which I could make a number of jokes, and I won't. You get my point. Here's the thing. I think that Laiatu Latu is definitely a talented player. I think that he is a clear-cut top of the day 2 edge rusher guy for me. In that second round, probably the top half of the second round is where I would probably grade him. He's productive off the edge. He combines decent speed with some good bend. I think that he's good at using speed, hands, spin moves, shoulder dips, getting skinny to get around offensive linemen. I think he's really good at all of those. It's a variety of ways of getting around an offensive lineman. Here's my issue. It starts to look like he avoids physicality. You very, very rarely, if ever, see him engage head-on. He's got almost no bull rush at all. And he loses position in the run game sometimes trying to get around offensive linemen rather than engaging and taking on the blocker. I don't find that he attacks with physicality at times, and that frustrates me because this riding your athleticism and speed at the college level towards production, it doesn't help you develop the skills that you need at the level in which you get paid. So I think that kind of thing also shows up in his tackling. I think that he can be a responsible run defender. Here's the thing with tackling. It's not like a form thing. It's hard for me to get excited about a football player that doesn't look like he loves to hit. And I don't care if you're on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. If you're a tight end, I want to see Jeremy Shockey. I want to see somebody who lowers his head and runs through tackles. If you're a safety, I want to see Sean Taylor. I want to see you level somebody, and I don't want them to get off the ground. I want a cart to come out every time that you lay the wood. When I see Laiatu Latu, I see a guy who kind of just corrals people and waits for help to get there, drags people to the ground. You're an edge rusher, man. I want you to hit people. And, if that were a self-contained issue with just the tackling, I might not even mention it at all. But the fact that I so rarely see him engage offensive linemen, it really worries me. And I think that there's a chance. I'm much more comfortable with somebody like Jared Verse, who has pushed himself from Albany to day 1 of the draft, than I am comfortable with Laiatu Latu, who has coasted through UCLA on his speed, and I worry that that's the wall for him, right? Like, if he doesn't figure it out right away how to be physical, he may never at all. And so that's really plummeted his draft grade for me. After that, I actually think that there's a significant drop, because after that I have Chris Braswell from Alabama, the other edge rusher in Alabama. You'd think, but not really. 6'3", 250 pounds with 33-inch arms and nice and long. He seemed to play like a situational role in Alabama, and that kind of sucks because, I don't even, I guess Alabama being like a talent school, that's much more likely than, being at UCLA, for instance. Like, if you're a situational role at UCLA, like, why the hell aren't you a starter? Playing in Alabama, there's a number of reasons. I mean, there's people who leave the school entirely just so they can actually play. But nevertheless, his situational role at Alabama, I'm not going to hold too far against him. Nick Saban retired, so who knows what was going into that. But I think that he was productive at college. I kind of liked what Chris Braswell put on tape. I think that he's a strong defender on the edge. He can lose his footing, I think, in the run game at times. He can be out physical, but he's not out of position. He's willing to play the run. He plays it correctly. You kind of work on that anchor, I guess, right? I think that he tackles well. I think that he's a strong tackler. I think that his speed off the edge is, maybe it's very average, but his bend is pretty good. What he has, he works with well. I think that he has a varied pass rush attack. He might need to develop and refine those pass rush moves, especially like... he has some bread and butter moves that when they don't work, he kind of gets stalled. Worrying about, what to do when that doesn't work, and having that preset in your mind, like the plan B option of his game could get some work. I think that Chris Braswell can continue to be a situational or third edge rusher in a group. And, when you're talking about the bottom of round 2, maybe the top of round 3, somewhere in there, that's not a bad thing to be, to get out of an edge rusher at that point. Let's being completely honest, a good second edge rusher in the NFL, you have to get at the top of round 2 or the bottom of round 1, in my opinion, because the best ones, these stars, they're going to go in the top 20 every year. Following that is Marshawn Kneeland from Western Michigan. I really like Marshawn Kneeland. I saw him at the Senior Bowl, 6'3", 265 pounds, a smaller school kid, although Western Michigan is one of the bigger small schools, I would say. Strong and well built. He may not be very fast, but he is very quick in short spaces. And at the edge position, I care very little about your 40 time compared to your 3-cone and your 20-yard shuttle times. And that's where he actually scored pretty well at the combine. I think that he plays with excellent strength and power. He's not going to Leatu Latu around the edge. He'll just beat up offensive linemen. Really, honestly. Like, I have a feeling that coming home after playing against Marshawn Kneeland for a tackle, a right tackle or whatever, is like a bruise day. It's like an ice bath day or something like that. It's a very physical matchup between Marshawn Kneeland and whoever is unfortunately lining up across from him. I think that he can refine his hands, but they are already super active. He understands how important having active hands are. They're strong hands as well. I think that he's a responsible run defender, which is important, especially when you get into these lower draft grades. If not being a liability in the run game is certainly huge. I think that he's a great tackler. And I think that he's strong at the point of attack. And I think that he plays with good leverage. These technique things, they can use some refinement, but he's not totally lost out there. It's just little things. I really like Marshawn Kneeland, and I think that he's a small school kid that has that chip on his shoulder that he's going to work extra hard for. After that, Adisa Isaac from Penn State, I think, is a late day 2 draft grade from me. 6'4", 245 pounds, played opposite Chop Robinson, and I think that the production that he got in college had a lot to do with playing opposite Chop Robinson. Nevertheless, high energy, super active, really persistent. That's probably the best word I could use to describe him. He's persistent. I don't think that he's very dominant. He doesn't win all that often, but he is not going to give up. He doesn't just kind of stand up, get upright. He's going to keep fighting. I think he has a good-looking bull rush, but that strength, 245 pounds, this is what I'm talking about with these guys coming in. 245 pounds at 6'4", not enough for me. You're an edge rusher. I need you to be more physical than that. Marshawn Kneeland being 265 pounds at 6'3", that's more what I'm looking for. Speed, just kind of average. Bend is worse. I think that he's a good tackler. I think his hand fighting has potential. But, when you start getting into these round 3 guys, you're looking at traits and ceiling. I think that he can develop into being that third edge rusher in a group. He'll always be unheralded, I think, but winning cleanup duty is important, and being that third edge rusher to come in there with fresh legs against a tired right tackle, he can still be productive at the NFL level. I think that there's something to work with Adisa Isaac. Moving into day 3, these kinds of edge rushers are likely going to be special teams players or guys with, you hope, some level of upside, your fourth edge rusher, someone you're trying to develop or something like that. And leading this one off for day 3 for me is Muhammad Kamara from Colorado State. 6'1", 250 pounds, and he's from Newark, New Jersey, so he's tough as nails and he knows what's up. Undersized, 6'1". I mean, I'm not going to make any bones about it. That is undersized for the edge position straight up. But he's compactly built and he's tough. I think that he has better than average speed. I think he has some pass rush moves. His technique and hand fighting can certainly improve, and that will go a long way. But the aggression and the natural strength is there. And, the NFL is an evolving game where a 6'1" guy can probably get by in situational situations. And on day 3, I think that's really what you're trying to develop anyway. So Muhammad Kamara, for me, was someone that kind of stood out among the day 3 guys, I guess. Not going to spend a whole bunch of time on these guys. But Austin Booker from Kansas, next. 6'4", 240 pounds, 34-inch arms is not something to ignore. So, right there, the height might not be what I love. The weight is certainly not what I love. But the length is outstanding. And in a lot of ways, like I said, don't love the height, don't love the weight, but they're not bad. He's very average in a lot of ways. I think that the upside here is based mostly on length and that he can still fill out this frame. Being 6'4" with long arms, 240 pounds is light, but it should be easy to tack that on, and it looks like he has the frame to add that. I think that he needs to work on a lot of hand fighting and moves, and he certainly didn't play a lot at Kansas. Very low snap count, but where he can improve the most, and this is going to be part of that filling out frame, is strength. I think that that's probably his biggest weakness right now. The other thing I thought was interesting was that on tape, the speed looked very, very good. But then whenever it came to the combine, he ran something like a 4.8 or a 4.81 or something like that. It certainly looks much faster game speed than it does testing speed, and that can happen from time to time. I'm going to continue to bank on the film because those numbers don't really match what I saw when a ball was being snapped. But nevertheless, whatever speed he does have, he works to his advantage pretty darn well. And then rounding out the guys on day 3 that I think are even worth highlighting, Braylon Trice from Washington, 6'3", 245 pounds. I don't think that he's fast, but I do think he has good closing speed. I don't think that he wins very cleanly very often, but snap in, snap out, he plays with relentless effort. And the times that he does win, it's because of that effort. So, if you can develop all the things around it, the effort is going to be there. You know that you can count on Braylon Trice to give 110% on every single snap. So it's about cleaning up all the other things to get him to win. I don't think that his hands do enough. I think that he kind of pinballs around from time to time. He'll bounce off and around guys. But I do think that he looks good rushing on the inside, on stunts. He can torment the B gap from time to time. I think that his strength is questionable. But with the effort there, if you can translate that effort to proper practices in the weight room and then proper practices during the week, it can translate into success on game day. And at the end of the day, this is a league where success on game day is kind of the only thing that matters. I think that his tackling is pretty good. It can be high. He can be upright at times when he does things. I think that the biggest thing that's going to hold him back and where he'll never really be more than I hate to use the third edge rusher as a quote-unquote depth, but it is. Anything more than depth, I think that his super tight hips, low flexibility, to me, he has almost no bend at all, and that's going to be some trouble for him. But, if he's part of a group where he's the fourth pass rusher and he runs an end tackle stunt, he could probably be pretty productive, So it's not nothing. I think that there's something that can be molded and developed there. And I think with his effort level, I think that he's like a day one special teams player anyway, which, might laugh at now, but the difference between teams that go deep into the playoffs and the teams that flame out in the first week or start to lose in, weeks 15 through 18 are the teams that have, 58 players on their roster that are good as opposed to just 50 or 53. It's about the depth of your roster at the end of the year. And then kind of just filling out the bottom here, I didn't find anything truly notable or worthwhile out of these remaining guys. Gabe Murphy, Jalen Harrell, Jonah Ellis, Xavier Thomas, Grayson Murphy. These guys, to me, not really worthy of much discussion. In any case, that's going to wrap up this episode. I didn't want to take up too much time, so coming up soon, tight ends. I'm really excited to go over that. Please be a pal. Tell other people about this channel. Share this video places if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.